call to order the November 2022 legislative session of BD Borough Council. Please stand and join me in the pledge to our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Before we begin, I'd like to thank everyone who participated in the recent elections. Your participation, whether it was by voting or by serving at the polls or serving as a candidate, is invaluable. It's what makes our system work. And I think that we should all be gratified that the system did work this past election, as it did the election before. Welcome, everybody. I hope that everyone is preparing to have a good Thanksgiving, and we hope that you do have a good Thanksgiving. We'll then kind of move right into our housekeeping items of minute approval to our motion to approve the October workshop meeting minutes as submitted. So moved. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
There is a second. Any discussion? Hearing no call for discussion. All in favor of approving the October workshop meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. We also had a set of council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve those as submitted?
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
And it has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing no call for discussion. All in favor of approving the October meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. We have public comment and privilege of the floor, as we always do at our meetings. We have public comment and privilege of the floor both at the beginning of the meeting as well as at the end of the meeting. We accept public comment both in person as well as by email. As always, I will turn to Karen Rapino. Karen, have we received any email comments or questions from persons who have identified themselves by name and by where they live?
Yes, I have.
All right.
Yes, we have.
Let's get to them.
Okay. Amy, and I'm sorry if I say her last name wrong, Aquarola of North Olive Street. This is regarding traffic safety. I would love to voice my support for safe streets efforts. Much has been, I guess she means done, to address this, and it's very much appreciated. Still, speeding and rolling stops are a daily issue. I would love to see stop signs with flashing lights and more than one speed monitor shared throughout the borough. I acknowledge that they are expensive, but we have seen the speed monitor be effective on the 800 block of North Olive Street, though it's rarely placed there. I would love to have one permanently affixed and much more frequently rotated here and on other high-traffic streets where speeding and rolling stops are the norm. Thank you for considering.
Well, thank you for your comment. Councilmember Robinson is not here tonight. Normally, he would be the one who would field this type of a comment or a question. But I think you can offer this. I think that Councilmember Robinson would say that the experience has been that affixing that type of a monitor long-term actually does not have a long-term effect. It has an effect if it is moved from place to place throughout the borough, but if it's there, eventually people get used to it and they begin to ignore it, just like they sometimes ignore the other signs that we have at intersections.
The next one's from Judy Fowler, South Monroe Street. The Affordable Housing Group would like to thank Borough Council for their continuing interest and support of making affordable housing possible for everybody's hometown. One of the most cherished aspects of media is that it is a community of people from all walks of life. This diversity is what makes media unique. We look forward to working with Borough Council as it moves forward with making sure there is affordable housing in the borough. And the next one is from Julie Smith, North Olive Street. I am writing to ask that Media Borough Council redirect the entire monetary gift from Sunoco ET to the Clean Air Council for ongoing pipeline safety and pollution prevention work. I think it's important to show our neighbors that have been, could be, will be adversely affected by this pipeline that Media Borough stands with them. Our ecological boundaries don't stop at the municipal lines, and when something is wrongfully done, we need to do whatever we can to help others in our ecological community. I only hope surrounding communities would do the same if we ever need it. And that's it for now.
Thank you, Karen. Of course, as I mentioned before, we do have the opportunity for in-person comment or questions, so if anybody here wishes to do so, please come to the microphone, tell us your name, the address at which you live, and what's on your mind.
Hi, Erica Berman, 659 West Baltimore Avenue. Good evening. I'm going to be speaking on behalf of the Environmental Advisory Committee tonight on our recommendations for how to invest the roughly $36,000 from Sunoco that was gifted and accepted by Borough Council in March of this year. Council, for people that don't know the background, Council requested EAC provide recommendations on how to spend these funds. And while I understand the decision lies with this body, I hope you will strongly consider the reasons behind our recommendation as you make your decision. Before I do so, I want to thank all the EAC members that worked hard to review and consider the best environmentally sound way to utilize these funds. A core role of the EAC is to research, develop, and propose environmental projects to Council that aim to improve and protect the environment in the borough. The role of this committee will continue to be an important support system to the borough as we begin to face the impacts of a changing climate. While I realize Council is already familiar with the background on how these funds came to be I would like to give a brief context, especially for those unfamiliar. So in 2016, Media Borough granted a conservation easement for pipeline construction at a borough-owned property in Middletown in exchange for $350,000. The pipeline referenced here is the Mariner East 2, which runs through Delaware County and is an extremely dangerous way of transporting hazardous volatile liquids to feed the industries on Delaware River waterfront. In April 2020, during the start of the pandemic, Sunoco requested an extension and expansion of the easement and sent a check for roughly $36,000 accompanying the request. Borough Council decided to reject the request and return the check. Sunoco then proceeded to illegally trespass on borough property to continue construction despite being denied by Media Borough. There have been multiple environmental and nuisance problems at this borough-owned site, including flaring to burn off leaks. Sunoco's parent company was recently convicted of multiple environmental crimes related to the construction of Mariner 2. Seeing as it would be difficult for a small borough to take on a fossil fuel giant for illegal trespassing, it seems there was little we could do to respond. Earlier this year, Sunoco again sent the check to the borough, stating it would go unclaimed if they did not accept, and the borough voted to accept the private gift in March. And that point invited us to give some recommendations. So I just wanted to ground our recommendations in the context of the history of it. So the precarious nature of these funds added a level of complexity to our environmental group as we began to assess the best way to utilize dirty oil money in the borough, especially as we know that the existing infrastructure still poses a hazard to local residents, and these projects are far from over. Some EAC members sought to understand the background of the impacts at the site, and the local groups working on the ground to advocate around pipeline safety and supporting residents impacted by this project. It is no surprise that Clean Air Council is a leading nonprofit force organizing in the region around pipeline safety, providing support to local citizen groups and legal advocacy. And while residents could not see the pipeline construction within the borough, they certainly are impacted by the hazards they pose. So in conversations with CAC, Clean Air Council, it was discussed how the funds from the borough could be used to support hyper-localized efforts in Delco around pipeline public safety, monitoring, and prevention. At the same time, other members brought forward noble, important environmental projects within the borough, which were also considered. In our discussions with Councilperson Mark, our liaison, he provided feedback that the council was keen on investing the funds within the borough, and that there was no deadline really to give our recommendation, and we didn't meet quorum, so here we are today. So with that feedback, our group strategized and developed a recommendation that would seemingly satisfy the directive from council as well as our environmental concerns. The EAC would like to recommend to Borough Council that the Sunoco funds be split in 3 ways. 1/3 of the funds should go to the path of reducing fossil fuel dependency by installing public EV charging stations in the borough. As you know, EV is on the rise, and media is behind other areas with popular downtowns. Right now, the borough has one charging station operated by Blink, which has been broken since the summer. And looking at numbers, a level 2 public-facing EV charging station with dual ports costs roughly $5,000, and there are grants that fund up to 75% of that cost. So a chunk of these funds could help jumpstart this effort. The EAC also recommends that a portion go to the library rain garden project, which Mark outlined and I believe already provided council with information to review. Rain gardens are important to stormwater management and become more crucial as we lose natural space to development. And lastly, we recommend that 1/3 of the funds go to Clean Air Council to directly support a Delco Legal Environmental Advocacy Fund that will educate residents about proposed infrastructure, hold corporations accountable by intervening in the permitting process, and continue to monitor challenges with the Mariner East, as well as support to fight future projects such as the LNG plant that's being proposed in Chester. The existence of this payment is a completely unique situation, so we felt it was logical and responsible to utilize at least a portion of these funds in a way that directly relate to their origin. Thank you for your time and consideration, and look forward to hearing your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address council at this time? Please come to the microphone, tell us who you are, where you live, what's on your mind. Ms. Rourke.
Hi, everyone. My name's Monica Rahorick. I live at 430 North Monroe Street at the Gifford Risley House Bed and Breakfast, my plug. And it's going to be hard to follow that. But thank you so much for bringing me up to speed, because I didn't know anything about this. But that's great. And they're great recommendations, too, as well as how to spend the money. So listen to her. So I'm here to let everyone know that the Santa Parade in media is on for Sunday, the 27th, down State Street like it used to be. We're really excited to bring this back into the town again. Since, you know, we've kind of had a little abridged version for the past couple of years, but at least we brought Santa to town for everyone over the years. And we were happy to do that as well. So just letting everyone know, there's going to be posters all around town again, and there is a website that everyone can go to check it out. So we have the block party that starts at 2:30 with all kinds of fun activities for the children, balloon twisters, face painters. We'll have pretzels. The arcade place is going to bring a couple machines down so you can try your hand at pinball or whatever they're bringing. And then the fun run is going to start at 4:15 again, down State Street, and then the parade starts at 5. So we want everyone to come out. I'm checking the weather every day. Fingers crossed, it's looking kind of good for everyone. So please come down. So can I leave this with one of you here, or
Of
whatever,
course.
if you want to? Here.
Of course. It's great to see that this event is back where it belongs, although I'll miss being able to stand on my front porch and watching the parade. I'll have to walk all of a couple of blocks to see
gonna
it.
say, well,
I think
you
it'll
know-
be worth it.
Well, the hubbub is down at your end of town anyway, so you might be able to see a little if you look left to see everything. The other thing is, I just found out today that the movie that they made in media, I just saw the trailer come out. And the preview is going to be on Thanksgiving Day, the 24th, on the QVC channel,
Yes.
I believe it is, yeah. So we get to see all our places. Our place was in there, and I know lots of the different parts of the town were in there, so it's kind of exciting. But we're all in the movie business now. So I'm ready for my close-up, Mr. DeMille, over there, please. Okay. And then lastly, the bed and breakfast, we're having our annual Christmas open house on Sunday, December 4th, from 4 to 8 p.m. So we'd love to have you all come out and check us out and have a little hot cider and some cookies and just have a great start to the season.
Thank
So,
you.
All right. And, one last thing. The planters are planted on State Street.
Nice.
It's mighty cold at 8 o'clock this morning, I'll tell you that, so. And the lights will be lit on them next week.
Excellent.
We're waiting till after Wednesday night's little, happenings, let's say. So, all right, we're ready to go. The town is looking good. All the other decorations are up, and it's going to be a great season again, so it's nice to be back on track.
Thank you, Monica.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Sure, thank you.
Good to see you
You
again.
too.
Does anyone else wish to address council at this time? Please come to the microphone. Tell us who you are, where you live, what's on your mind.
Michael Straw, 499 West Jefferson Street. I'm probably not going to be as cheerful, but I wanted to provide my own opinion once again on a familiar topic that the council is taking on regarding the Sunoco check. Although I heard the entire proposal by the EAC, and I thank them for their recommendation, at least with my opinion, I still think because of what we've recently heard about a specific budget crunch regarding inflation that we're dealing with, I would, at least in my opinion, think that it would be best at this time to allocate all the funds towards any project within Media Borough, because we're taking every single dime that we have to be able to utilize them properly. So it's nothing against the Clean Air Council. I'm sure they do a lot of great work, but I think at this time the funds should be utilized here in the borough. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Straw. Anyone else wish to come to the microphone? Okay. We've had our full complement of takers this evening, and we'll move along then to the reports. We have the Borough Manager's Report. Brittany Foreman. Brittany?
Good evening, Mr. President. I have 2 items to report tonight. First, I just want to give a brief update on the Bryn Mawr students. We have 4 student teams who are providing analyses for the borough as part of their coursework related to sustainability and climate change. And the projects are energy savings assessment, waste management assessment, EV charging infrastructure, and the 4th one is EV focused on our fleet specifically. And I just wanted to let you guys know that they will be presenting their findings to the EAC on December 8th at 7:30 p.m., and they wanted to invite all Borough Council to attend as well. So I will send that around via email so you have it and can plan accordingly.
Will there be anything in writing, Brittany?
Yes, there's going to be a PowerPoint presentation that we're going to get ahead of time, and yeah, so there'll be something that I can circulate for sure. And then secondly, I wanted to announce the resignation of Paula Tenaro as at the end of this month. She's a longtime employee who has served as the Recreation Office Manager for the last 16 years. And she's decided to leave us to spend some more time with her family, and we can understand that decision, but we will miss her greatly. And she's been a pleasure to work with, and I really just wanted to personally thank her for her 16 years of dedicated service to the borough. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any question or comment for our manager?
Just to echo, I'm going to miss Paula. She's was always so direct. I mean, I only saw her once a year at the budget meetings, but she never messed around. It was great. Oh, well, you know.
I think that we know one quality that we'll look for in someone, if we're looking for a replacement, that's one quality that we'll value highly.
It was unique to Paula.
Any other questions or comments for our manager? We'll move along then to the engineer's report, Mr. Mattson.
Thank you, Mr. President. Again, busy out there in the field. Just a couple updates on some capital projects. The road program is completed, and again, I would really like to thank the school district for being so cooperative and understanding. They've had a series of projects out in front of the building over at Midi Elementary School, ranging from the Aqua project that's still under construction to our improvements for the ADA ramps, for the repaving of Monroe Street. So big thanks to the school. They've been good sports. The contractor broke ground at the South and Jefferson improvements for the rain gardens over at on the south end of town, South and Jefferson. It's anticipated he'll complete this work before the end of the year, which is great. Again, he provided a schedule. He provided a good, healthy team of people that can be out there to get this work done. And so far, so good. No surprises underground as far as utilities or soils or anything like that. So implementation should go pretty well. For the wayfinding project, a lot of signs have still been installed even as of this week. And the Allied is reporting that the week of the 28th, they will begin doing the rebuilding and future installations of the gateway signs, which will be made out of brick and stone. And again, it will also include the rebuilding of the sign on the west end. So still a fair amount of work to do in wayfinding, but the bulk of the signs have been installed at this point, which is great news. We also did have a site walk with PennDOT to wrap up the APS project. It's substantially complete. There's a few things that the contractor still has to fix in the field, But on the whole, all of the systems are in, they're active. One or two of them need a little bit of tweaking as far as volume and actuators and things like that, but we've developed a punch list for Carr and Duff, who did the project for us. We also met with, this month, we met with representatives from the Office of Housing Community Development at Delaware County for the two CDBG projects at LED installations on Orange Street and State Street. We met with the directional driller who's going to be drilling the conduits for the installation of those lines, which will probably happen first, and then Lenni Electric has both of those projects. They'll be doing those installs shortly thereafter. The only, not delay, but there's a lead time with the halophane lamps. So most likely all of the electrical conduit and ductwork will go in, and then the last piece of the puzzle will be the installation of the lamps. So maybe a period where we see a delay between the physical work and installed in the field with the foundations and then the final lamps. Other than that, unless there's any questions, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any questions or comments for our engineer at this time? Seeing that we have none, we'll then turn to our solicitor for the evening, Tiffany Griffin. Thank you. Welcome very much to our little gathering tonight. Yeah, you are here because Mr. Scott is not able to attend tonight, and we're glad to have you in his stead.
Thank you. There is nothing to report from the solicitor's office tonight. Thank you.
Just as well as he.
Oh, yeah, she's...
I think I did that very well. She said it with a smile.
Does any member of council have any questions or comments for our solicitor at this time? Not hearing any, we will move along then to the mayor's report. Mayor McMahon.
Thank you. Last month was a busy one for the police department. There were 691 complaints. I'll read a couple of them. 47 alarms, 115 assists to the public, 21 disorderly conduct. Medical emergencies, there were 63. There were 25 traffic accidents. And that's quite a bit for the police department. I want to read something that Matt, our police chief, gave me on some things that have happened and some things that might happen in the future. With the approach of the holiday season, the police would like all residents to be aware of their surroundings and notify the police of anything suspicious. Crimes will often increase as we get closer to the holidays. This week, a woman went into the King of Prussia Mall and made some high-end purchases. She returned to media where she went out to lunch. While she was inside the restaurant, several thieves smashed out the back window of her vehicle and stole the items from the back of her SUV. The thieves then did not care that it was a daylight and there were numerous witnesses. Officers are confident that the victim was followed by the thieves from the King of Prussia Mall. The police in the region are still getting calls for the theft of catalytic converters from the vehicles. Call the police should you see somebody tampering with your car or your neighbor's car or anything like that. So that's quite a thing. I haven't heard that one before. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You're too humble. You haven't said a word about the Veterans Day event, nor have you mentioned your role in that wonderful event.
Yeah.
Care to say a few words?
Sure, I care to say. It was I was supposed to prevent the rain. It didn't work out that way. Luckily, 20 years ago, we were rained out, and we went to the townhouse. So when this was being rained out, I went down to the townhouse the day before and said, could you help us? And we want to put on a parade inside your dining room and also have an event. And the guy said, sure, and didn't charge us. So we had our parade, which was the Pencrest brand, came in and sang one song, or about 5 or 6 songs. They don't call them songs, though. And then we had our essay contest, which is the most important part of that. There were like 60 people that competed, and the top 3 got awards. We had a lot of singers there, and everybody had a good time. Surprised.
There's some folks that I think that many of us would recognize who were sitting behind you, as was appropriate. They should be sitting behind you. Care to mention who was here in media to celebrate the Veterans Day event?
Well, Bob Casey was here. Congresswoman Scanlon was here. All of County Council was here. A lot of Borough Council was here.
That's
You were there, several members of council. Let's see, we had one very long speaker. Was that
Kearney was there.
Kearney was there, yeah.
Another state senator was there too. I don't remember which one. But you also had your speaker from the White House.
Yeah. I gave him 5 minutes, and he took 17. Yeah. He was back and forth on a lot of things, but...
Mayor, wasn't there another event in the last several days honoring you at the Wells Fargo Center?
Okay, Gene Richardson, who was a Tuskegee Airman, was supposed to be in the parade, and he called me the day before in media that he was sick, he couldn't make it. Apparently, he was to be honored at the Sixers game on Saturday night. He couldn't make it, he was sick. So they called me and said, "Can we honor you?" I said, "No, I'm not doing that." My daughter picked up the phone and said, "He'll be there." So I went down, and they read some things that I claimed I did in Vietnam, and it was a great night. We enjoyed it. We thanked them for it, but never expected that. So. That completes my report.
Well, I was just about ready to sit back and pull my feet up to the fire and then listen some more. But thank you. Does any member of council have any questions or comments for the mayor at this time?
I would just like to comment that the Veterans Day event was a very well-run event, even during the last-minute change from the rain out, from canceling the parade and moving it into the townhouse. It was a great location, great event. You did great, so come on.
Okay.
You did. And I was overcome with emotion because I was thinking of how my grandparents met.
Oh.
And my grandmother was a nurse, and it escapes me, and I think her birthday is tomorrow, so if she was living, I'd be,
That's nice.
Yes. She met her husband, John B. Farrell. He was also a veteran, and he was injured, so he had to go to the nurse's wing, and then that's how they met. So, yeah, so I was overcome with emotion remembering that story, so I wanted to thank you for organizing everything and just to kind of help people remember our veterans.
It was Ziggy and me.
Yes, Ziggy and you, definitely. So I'm definitely...
Ziggy had a way better hat.
Yes, he did. He had a great outfit. He looked very handsome. I mean, all the veterans did. So I look forward to this event. I still look forward to this next year and beyond, so
Thank you.
still looking forward to it.
We spent some time talking about the event because it's something that's important to our community. It's an event that brings our community together and reminds us of the sacrifices that many have made so that we can enjoy many of the liberties that we enjoy today. All right, then, we'll move along to the council committee reports. Councilman Robinson cannot be here tonight, so his report will be done by Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I might need a few extra phone books to match Councilman Robinson's height, but I hope this is okay. Yes, so this is the Properties, Public Works, and Fire reports from Mr. Robinson. So there are about a handful of items, and first item will be the resolution number 2022-50, sale of a 2007 Ford Crown Victoria to Eric Gavin for a winning bid of $2,750. And I'm putting that up in the form of a motion.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the sale of a 2007 Ford Crown Victoria to Eric Gavin for the amount of $2,750, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Okay, for the next item, this is resolution number 2022-51 for the sale of a 2008 Ford Crown Victoria to Baron Snyder for a winning bid of $2,350. And I'm putting that up as the form of a motion.
Motion's been made. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2022-51, which will sell a 2008, or approve the sale of a 2008 Ford Crown Victoria to Baron Snyder for the amount of $2,350, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, just a few more. Then this next item of business is the resolution number 2022-52, and this is the sale of a 2009 Ford Crown Victoria to Dwayne Ronchovsky for a winning bid of $3,202, and I'm putting this up in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and it has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing no call for discussion, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2022-52, which will approve the sale of a 2009 Ford Crown Vic to Dwayne Ronchovsky for the amount of $3,202, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, and the final line of business from Public Works and Properties is the approval of proposal for the installation of a fire alarm system at the Public Works shop, and I think that's also known as the Public Works building, and putting that up in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion? I'll call the question then. All those in favor of approving the proposal for the installation of a fire alarm system at the Public Works shop, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
All righty, and for the next, for Part B, it's personnel. And this,
Oh, so we're done with the
yes.
used car portion of the agenda?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, we are. That- Yeah. I don't know any, oh my gosh. I drive a used car, that's all I could say, and it's the same color as my suit. That's really the only thing I can offer for used car jokes. And that completes Paul Robinson's report.
Well, then let's move along to the personnel report. Councilmember Washington.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think a general personnel announcement will just be we're still in the middle of negotiation season. So we're still negotiating with our police department, and we'll be doing more meetings as time goes along, so those are going pretty well so far. So my items of business, this one starts with an authorizing a salary adjustment for the parking enforcement officers from $18.19 per hour to $20 per hour effective January 1st, 2023, and I'm presenting this in the form of a motion.
Second.
Motion's been made. It has been seconded. Is there any discussion concerning the motion?
A quick question. Peter, is this in any way part of the finance that you mentioned at workshop?
You mean, is it included in the 2023 budget?
Yes, is it part of the extension of enforcement, et cetera? Okay, great, thank you.
I'm saying yes, but I'm also looking at you, Brittany. We did include it.
We did,
we've talked
yes.
about
It
that.
is included in the budget,
Yeah.
and also part of, we do need to hire a couple more parking enforcement
Right,
officers,
so
which is
this-
what you were
this
talking
helps.
about, and
Yep.
so this is helping to recruit those officers.
Thank you.
It's also bringing us up on par to many of our neighboring communities. Is there any other comment or question concerning the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor of authorizing a salary adjustment for our PEOs, our public enforcement officers, from the current $18.19 per hour to $20 per hour, effective the turn of the year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. And the next item of business will be the authorization for promotion of customer service specialist to administrative specialist, and a salary adjustment from $26.12 per hour to $28.57 per hour, effective January 1st, 2023.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion concerning the motion?
Just, who is it? Okay, I thought so.
Marianne.
I mean, it sounded like what she does.
Yeah.
She's a stalwart at the window.
Very good for her.
Any other question or comment? Hearing none. All those in favor of authorizing a promotion of the customer service specialist to administrative specialist with a salary adjustment from $26.12 per hour to $28.57 per hour, effective the turn of the year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. That concludes my report.
Does any member of council have any question or comment for Councilmember Washington? Hearing none, we'll move to the report for the Media Business Authority. That's Vice President Elizabeth Romaine.
Thank you, President Hall. Before I move on to MBA announcements, I just want to take a moment to formally thank everyone that was involved in the Halloween parade, which really seems like it was a long time ago. It actually was just a couple weeks ago. You know, the challenge of this event is that it was the 56th parade that was ever held, but the first that the borough hosted. This was truly a coming together of all sorts of different types of people to help pull this off. So I want to just make sure that I thank a couple of folks that were really, really helpful in pulling this all together. One, obviously, is the rec board and their help in supporting this, the media police department with my main point person, Eric Gavin, Sergeant Eric Gavin. He was hugely helpful in helping us to plan the safety of the event. Our public works teams for making sure that everything was clean and safe and ready to go, and to Mike Green for decorating the compost truck and having it be haunted and putting it in the actual parade. You know, he went the extra mile on that one. Our fire company and our EMTs that were on call, again, from a safety perspective. We had several borough staff that were really instrumental in helping to pull this off, so I want to thank Karen and Brittany specifically, Marianne, Paula, obviously, from the rec board, Jim Jeffrey, who lended me his expertise on helping to plan the Veterans Day Parade for many years. I was able to pick his brain, and he was incredibly helpful. The NBA for their guidance on how to shut down streets, and Dave Fairman in particular. I want to thank Drew Arata and Heather Arata at Earth and State, again, really lending a hand, pitching in on day of. Linda Rooney from a marketing perspective. The Media Arts Council helped out a lot as well. And then I really want to thank all the community groups that got involved, the ones that have returned and the ones that were new this year and kind of gave us a chance. And I want to thank them for their patience, with having sort of a new leadership and a new direction, that everyone was really kind, and I think it worked out really well. I want to thank my friends and family for helping to volunteer the day of and to act as therapists for the last 2.5 months as the planning got a little intense, but really appreciate them. And of course I want to thank Kevin and Paul, council people Kevin and Paul, because they actually did help out on the day of, and that was really instrumental. So I'm sure I'm missing some people to thank, but I hopefully I got most people. Truly, in the bottom of my heart, I can't thank everyone enough for being so kind and so helpful to pull off this event. It was incredibly well attended. Everyone was safe, and I just really couldn't be prouder of so many people coming together to pull off this fun little event every year. Next year, hopefully, we'll be passing on the baton. I'll be passing on the baton of the logistics planning of the parade. I'm hoping to focus my time on how to leverage this event to really amplify its effect for local businesses, make it more welcoming to even more community groups. How we can get people who come in for Halloween to then again consider coming here for November and December and throughout the year. So there's a lot of opportunity with this event, but it happened this year. Yay. So moving on to MBA, just a couple of announcements. TAP 24 is celebrating their 5th anniversary. It feels like just yesterday that they opened, so I wanted to acknowledge them. Earth and State is celebrating their 20th year in business on Black Friday this year, which is pretty amazing. So please stop by and say hello to Heather and Drew. I do have a little show and tell. You folks might have noticed. You can take one and pass it down. These cards, these are distributed throughout the borough and elsewhere. This is a calendar of events for the borough now through the end of the year. Some of them are MBA events, some of them are not, but this gives an opportunity for a lot of residents to enjoy what we have to offer, visitors to visit us, and so forth. You'll notice a couple of events, specifically Small Business Saturday, which is going to be on, Black Friday is on the 25th, Small Business Saturday is on the 26th. So if you have an opportunity to support one of our many wonderful small businesses in town, I really encourage you to do it every day, but specifically this day is a wonderful day to really show your support and say hello. There'll be a lot of really great events going along South Street and throughout the borough. South Street. Well, I'm sure there are events going on at South Street too. But I suggest you go to State Street first before you go outside of the borough. Prioritize. One of the, Monica actually stole two of my big announcements tonight, but I'm going to reiterate them anyway. And I know Councilperson Robinson would emphasize this again. The Santa Fun Run and Parade is back this year. It is back to its traditional State Street. It is a really, really fun time. If you are looking to see a councilperson dress up as a Christmas pig, I highly recommend that you go to the Fun Run. You might just catch one. But it's always a really great event, and just really thrilled that it's back. Yes, I did. You heard me correctly. You can put that in the notes. Councilperson as a Christmas pig. So the block party starts at 2:30, the fun runs at 4:15, and then the parade is at 5 p.m. with Santa attending this year. A couple of other things. The MBA is going to be, well, I guess, are we asking? Am I asking? We're not voting on it, right, with the parking? I'm sorry, I just want to clarify. We're not voting, right? We're just sort of making announcements. Okay, so announcement. As we have in years past, we're going to be offering some parking opportunities to make shopping in media a little easier during the holidays. So parking is going to be free throughout the borough, Thursday, the 24th, which is Thanksgiving, through Sunday, the 27th. Then throughout the holiday season, starting on Thanksgiving, November 24th, through Sunday, January 1st, the Baltimore Avenue Garage will be free. We've done this in the past. This isn't any different, but we did want to encourage this type of leeway on the parking this year, again, to really support a lot of our businesses in town. One other thing I did want to mention is the MBA is going to be doing the Adopt a Lamppost program again this year. You might have remembered last year there are these cute little signs that get attached to some of the poles in town, and they promote businesses or organizations. If you know someone who might be interested in purchasing them, I'm happy to send you the link to fill that out. You can purchase it for yourself and put a picture of your cat on it. No judgment. They're for sale. Do whatever you want. I think that those will be, the order form for that will close in the next week or so. But the Adopt a Lamppost program is really fun, and it's a really nice way to add to some decor downtown. Last thing, Monica mentioned that the movie trailer for Holly and the Hot Chocolate movie is out. It looks super cute, and it's really fun to watch the trailer and see if you can pick out a bunch of different places in town that it was filmed. I will certainly be watching it on Thanksgiving when it comes out, but just a real honor that our little town was picked to be the backdrop of, your typical Christmas movie. I watch a lot of Christmas movies, so I kind of know this downtown romance storyline. I could probably write it for you right now, but it's really cool, and I just want to thank our community members and our police department and our public works and everyone who really helped to pull this off. I know that there were some adjustments that need to be made for the duration of the filming, but I really want to thank everyone for being patient and allowing for this type of filming to happen in our town, because it's fun and it's also a really great way to promote our town. And that is it for me.
So at the risk of a spoiler alert, does girl get boy at the end of this movie?
You mean, does Holly get Greg at the end of the movie? I don't know. I'll text you on Thursday and spoil the ending for you if you'd like.
You said it's on QVC?
It's on QVC Plus and HSN Plus.
HSN.
Yep.
On a specific time on Thanksgiving, or just?
So I think it's going to be streaming.
It's going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Can't wait to find out what's in that hot chocolate.
The secret ingredient is love.
Well,
That's what they call it.
I guess we now have the plot in full.
I think that's it.
So allow me to add someone to your list who you did not mention.
Oh, no, who?
You.
No.
Oh, well.
A Halloween parade, that is not an easy thing to pull together. I mean, imagine what it's like to pull together a family birthday gathering, getting everybody there at the right time in such a way that it all works, and multiply that by tens or hundreds. That's what you're dealing with a parade, Halloween or otherwise. And it was because you decided to take this on that it happened. So, thank you for your efforts.
Thank you. And thank you for council's support. Thank you, everyone.
Any other comments or questions for Vice President Romaine? Hearing that there are none, it is my report that is next on the agenda, and I have nothing to announce. I have nothing to report. Those who have been paying close attention over the past year probably have perceived that we have not had much in the way of development applications. And again, tonight, we do not have anything in the development realm to present. So although media is exceptional, it is not exempt from the larger economic forces that we're seeing throughout the country. It looks as if development pressures are easing up a bit, and that's reflected in the report that I have tonight. Unless there are any questions or comments for me, we'll just quickly move along to Councilmember Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a few announcements from REC. As you heard, Paula Tenero has resigned, so when we have workshop next month, we'll talk about what to do about her position and how to kind of move forward from there. But she did certainly serve a place in REC, and we have to figure out what to do, either to replace her or how to kind of take up the slack from what she did. So stay tuned for that. I'd like to mirror what everyone else said and thank Vice President Romaine. She was very humble. She did a lot of work, and things couldn't have gone any better. And I will treasure my library captain card. I have it in my drawer, my little laminated card at home. She whipped out a whole pack and said, "You're doing this, you're doing this." So anyway, thank you. She did a ton of work. And
You followed direction very well.
well, I've been married for almost 30 years. So
And I will thank your wife later.
yeah. Anyway, thank you very much, and it couldn't have gone any better. So appreciate all your hard work. The only upcoming event for REC is the Winter Wonderland. That would be the week after the Santa Parade. That would be December 4th, which is also Sunday from 12 until 2, and that will be here at the Community Center. And there'll be hot chocolate and a simple gift for kids. So come out. It's a really good photo op. Santa will be there, and that will be our Winter Wonderland on the December the 4th, one Sunday. The other item of business from REC is that we are down at least 2 members. Do you know, or is it 2 or 3, Karen? It might be 3 with. Right. So if anyone out there is interested, you could send a letter to the borough. We need help. We need a few more members to fill out the board, so keep in mind there are a few openings. And related to that, unfortunately, I'm going to move that we, with regret, accept the resignation of Jack Greening from the rec board. Jack's got a growing family, and I know things get kind of difficult. He's been a very valuable member for at least, I'm going to say 6 or 7 years. So thanks to Jack, and I make a motion that we, with regret, accept his resignation from the rec board.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion concerning the motion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of accepting with regret the resignation of Jack Greening from our Recreation Board. The term expires at the end of the 2025 year. Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And there is one item of business from Public Safety, which we will not be meeting next Thursday. We usually meet on the 4th Thursday, but since it's Thanksgiving, we're going to take the night off, and we'll reconvene next month. But I do have a mass gathering application for the winter version of the Farmers Market, which is the first and third Sunday of each month, beginning in December and going through April, and at that point, then they go back into their summer schedule. So I make that in the form of a motion that we accept the mass gathering application for the Media Farmers Market for the first and third Sunday of each month, beginning in December. And that's from 8 until 1 each Sunday.
Second.
Is there any question or comment concerning the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the mass gathering application for the Media Farmers Market for the 5-month period from December through April at the first and third Sundays of each month, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Does any member of council have any questions or comments for Councilmember Boyer?
Yeah.
Your public safety meeting is scheduled on Wednesday, the 23rd, so is that canceled?
Oh, it is scheduled for Wednesday because, no, we can still have it.
Mournfully.
Yeah. Have to make my apple pie the next day, but yes, so I stand corrected, we will be meeting next Wednesday at 7 o'clock. That would be the 23rd?
Yes.
Okay.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock, big conference room.
Any other questions or comments from council? Hearing none, we'll move along to Finance and Shade Tree. We have Councilmember Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. President. As far as shade tree announcements go, I hope you all have noticed in the e-newsletter, at least I believe one at least has landed there, a tree profile. Our tree warden has prepared another one. The first one was, golly, I can't remember what it was for. I think it might have been for black gum. But this next one is for a swamp white oak, and they're quite nice, little things, reasons to plant them in your yard. So look for that in the next e-newsletter. From the Finance Committee, we met last week. We met 2 days ago, and we discussed a variety of items, including the 2023 budget, which I'll discuss later. But for your edification, at the present time in October, we're about $1.3 million in surplus, which is good. It's very good. We won't end up there, but it seems clear at this point in the year that we will have a greater surplus than we did have last year. Last year, we ended up with about $200,000 extra. We don't know exactly how much we'll have, but we expect it will be more this year. You've also heard from us that we have started the process of seeking new proposals for our pension fund management. And we've been using a consultant expert in this to prepare first a request for qualifications that would then be followed by a request for proposals. We got 14 letters of interest, and 7 met the qualifications significant enough to, sufficiently to move on to the next step. We expect at the end we'll be interviewing maybe 3 firms. Interestingly, our current firm, PSAB, which has been the holder of our pensions for over 20 years, did not bid. They did message to us that should we be uninterested in any of the firms seeking our business, they'd be happy to continue to hold our pension. So we'll see. Very interesting. I was very surprised that they didn't bid, but that's what happened. Those are the things I was going to mention from the Finance Committee. Next, let's do the payment of bills. In October, from the general fund, look at that number, $1,976,972.23. From the recreation fund, a more modest number, $4,300.03, and from the capital fund, $253,478.87. I move approval or ratification, of October's bills.
Second.
Motion's been made, it has been seconded. Are there any questions or comments?
I will mention that the big number for the general fund is the debt payment we made in October.
Thank you. I'll call the question then. And
the MMO, yeah, the pension payment, both were in October.
all right. As is usual, October is a month of big bills for the borough. We have items that we need to pay on a yearly basis that come due around this time. All right, I'll call the question. All those in favor of ratifying the payment of the borough's bills for this past month from the general, recreation, and capital funds in the amount specified by Councilmember Williamson, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
My last item is the adoption of the preliminary 2023 general, capital, liquid fuels, and recreation budgets. You all know, or at least you're beginning to understand, that we have 4 separate budgets in our that we plan on every year. The largest one is the general fund, and the capital fund finances things that last a long time, like trucks and parks and roads and so forth. Liquid fuels mostly handles paving and handicapped access sidewalks, corners, and the recreation budget handles anything that the Recreation Commission needs. The budget before you is the one that you saw at the workshop, which is dated from November 2nd. It is balanced. It transfers a significant amount of money from the operating fund into the capital fund to make our capital funds whole, our capital projects whole. But it does have the structural problem of not allowing us to save any planned money. So the Finance Committee and myself are recommending that we adopt this preliminary budget as it is. But I want all of council to know that the committee is still working on the budget and will present you a revised version in December, which will have some new features to it, including some enhanced revenue. For instance, in the current budget, the parking has an increase in meter fees, but it's based on increasing the hours to 8 p.m. and no change in the hourly rate. We may be considering a recommendation to change the hourly rate, and the new budget that we're working with actually has that. That would be one example of the changes we'll be presenting you that will make for a more robust revenue picture for us going into the future. But for now, I do request that you adopt the budget that we've reviewed at workshop and that is the current draft.
Motion has been made. Do I hear a second on the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion or questions concerning the motion before I call it?
I have one question, just about operational budgets. What can we look at to see if there's an operational budget for 2023?
I mean, what part of the
What
budget
part of
is
it?
the
Yes.
operational budget, Joy? Well, the first section is the money that's coming in, the revenue section, right? And it's not like bolded or anything, but at a certain point, we run out of revenue, and you start to get into expenses. And just the way the Excel spreadsheet works, the way they're printed out. So, and the budget that was presented to you on November 2nd, the end of the revenue is on page 3. So we have a total revenue projected in 2023 of $10,456,000, okay, in that version of the budget. So it's on page 3. So, there's only 3 pages of revenue, and then there's like 20 pages of expenses, because there's so many different line items.
Thank you so much for pointing that out to me.
Sure. But when you get to the end of the general fund, then you start to get into the other funds, liquid fuels, capital, and recreation.
If I can just give a very quick tip, on the left-hand side, there are account numbers. General fund, which is the operating, is 01. So if you see it and start with a 01, that means it's going to be your operating general fund. If it starts with a 30, that's going to be your capital fund.
All right, a little light reading, as we are all aware. Any other questions or comments?
I do have one comment.
Yes, please.
I neglected to thank the staff, because every year they do a tremendous job putting this together. And every year it's got new wrinkles, but everybody contributes. And I really have to thank Brittany particularly for keeping everybody together, and I'm positive about the whole process, because it's been a tough year. So thank you.
And for those who are not familiar with the process, understand that it's a 3 to 4 month process each year. It's quite a rigorous process. It is ongoing throughout that period of time. generally the end of the summer through to November-ish of each year. And it requires an extraordinary amount of work, extraordinary amount of input, and I think that a significant part of the success of the borough has been that thoroughgoing review of our budget each year. All right, so we have a motion that has been seconded. I'll call the motion. All those in favor of adopting the preliminary 2023 budgets for the general capital, liquid fuels, and recreation funds, please say aye.
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 Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. President, and all the rest of you. And that concludes my report.
Does any member of council have any question or comment for Council Member Williamson at this time? Hearing none, we'll move along to Council Member Pakoff. We've got Environmental Advisory Council and the library.
Good evening. I don't have anything from the library, and I do have an announcement from the Environmental Advisory Council before I talk a little bit about the subject we're all here for tonight. On December 8th, there will be an EAC meeting. There's not usually an EAC meeting in December. However, in December 8th at 7:30 at a place to be determined, I don't know if it's been decided yet, the students from Bryn Mawr, who've been working all fall, will be presenting their findings. They've looked at 4 different very specific things to benefit the environment in Media Borough, and it's all free. And they will be presenting their findings. I encourage members of council to join us. It would be the second Thursday, or we'd be here 3 Thursdays in a row, but I will be there. And I hope some of you can make it. I'm really looking forward to it. Brittany, I don't know if you have any input or anything to add to that.
It'll be in the large conference room.
Thank you.
We're very excited.
It's upstairs.
For the free
We just didn't know
one.
how many people to expect. Yeah, it'll be cool.
What time mark it?
At 7:30. That's when they'll begin, on the 8th. I do have a few prepared remarks before I make a motion regarding the $36,710 check from Sunoco. When council voted to accept the Sunoco check, it also made it crystal clear that the money would be used toward a project directly focused on Media Borough. The recommendations were sought from the Environmental Advisory Council. For the following 8 months, I feel like a broken record, repeating time after time that the council wanted the money spent on a project or projects specific to Media Borough. One of the first items recommended by a member of the EAC was to use the entirety of the money as a donation to the Clean Air Council. While an admirable idea, I stressed to the members of EAC that this was a non-starter without direct and specific benefit to the borough through a project or projects with an environmental impact directly on media. When EAC arranged for a presentation from the Clean Air Council, I stressed to those arranging that meeting that specific and direct impact for Media Borough was what would be required for council to even entertain the idea of making such a donation. That was not included in any specific items or terms beyond a vague commitment to fight under the umbrella of Delaware County. In fact, I asked this council multiple times to reconfirm the desire to keep the funds focused on Media Borough, and that was reaffirmed multiple times, and I thank you for making that clear. At the EAC meeting last week, I once again made it clear that recommending sending the entire check to a nonprofit outside the borough was not going to happen for multiple reasons. Regardless, there was a motion to make that exact recommendation. That motion was defeated by a vote of 3-2. A member of the EAC then brought forth the idea of splitting the amount 3 ways, which was approved by a vote of 4-1, which is what you heard this evening. I did not discourage that vote, nor did I discourage any of those recommendations. Rather, I recommended members of the EAC who so strongly supported this to come speak before council tonight so their voices could be heard. I thank Erica for doing so quite eloquently. However, I cannot bring the recommendation for the Clean Air Council as it is to the Borough Council or the entire EAC's recommendations. Good governance requires all viewpoints to be heard. And with that in mind, I wanted to make sure that members of the EAC had a chance to share their strong opinions with council, even though the likelihood of any donation to an organization outside the borough was unlikely to be approved tonight. My job is to serve as a conduit between EAC and council, even when that leads to frustration and an unwillingness on one side to listen and hear clear direction. As a public school teacher, I am well acquainted with this frustration. I did my best throughout the process to maintain a professional and respectful demeanor throughout. Council has never wavered in its commitment to spending and keeping the money in media. That has not changed. What has changed is the financial state of the borough. And bearing all of this in mind, I want to make a motion to split the check into 3 distinct pieces. I move that $10,000 of this money be targeted toward the purchase of reusable bags for the implementation of the plastic bag ordinance in January. Other donations have been sought and are in the pipeline. However, they are not likely to allow these bags to be in place for our merchants by the time the ordinance takes effect January 1st, 2023. As petroleum is one of the main ingredients in the production of these plastic bags, this expenditure turns things back on Sunoco, and to me, it's an elegant solution to the issue and one that I'm proud to propose. The plastic bag ordinance itself came from much hard work of our Environmental Advisory Council. I further move that the rest of this check be split between the Media Upper Providence Free Library Rain Garden Project and the purchase of an electric vehicle for Media Borough Department of Public Works. The Rain Garden Project will be located centrally in our borough and is an absolutely environmental improvement. While EV charging stations are a lofty goal, they do benefit only a few. An EV truck for the Public Works Department will benefit all. It will also make a positive impact to our environment, and it certainly falls under the category of electric vehicles from the EAC's recommendation. So just to clarify, I am making a motion that the check amount be split into $10,000 toward the purchase of reusable bags for the implementation of Media's plastic bag ordinance, $13,355 to the Media Upper Providence Free Library for their rain garden project, and $13,355 to the purchase of an electronic truck for the Media Public Works Department. Thank you.
Motion's been made. Is there a second on the motion?
I'll second it.
All right, motion's been made. It has been seconded. Is there any questions or comments concerning the motion before I call the motion?
Sorry, just a question. Asking for some clarification around the $10,000 for reusable bags.
Yes.
Are those, I mean, I'm not asking for an action plan around it, but is it how, like cloth, like how, what are you envisioning? Sorry.
There are
Just a little-
2,500 bags that they're hoping to purchase.
Okay.
The price varies between $3 and $5. I chose 4, right in the middle. And the Zero Waste Committee, Karen Tossig-Lux is a member of that, along with other members in the borough. They will be able to determine exactly which bags would be most efficient and effective for the borough. Some can have logos placed on them. Some can have specific items on them. And that's something that the committee can further decide. I may come back asking if you're okay with the borough's logo being on it, but that's something I can talk to Brittany about. She knows more specifically than I do.
Provide a little bit more clarity. Yeah, they did go back and forth on the different types of bags that are actually most environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
They landed on jute bags. And so that's the one that is, he said between 3 and 5 because there's just different brands of those jute bags at different levels of, some are B Corp sort of certified and X, Y, and Z. But, and the idea is, yes, to have the borough logo or like the borough environmental, there's like a zero waste environmental logo that you could put on it. And then for the ones who are, if a nonprofit is going to be creating bags too and donating them and giving them to businesses, they would put their logo on one side, the borough's logo on the other side. So, yeah.
And the concern was the timing. The organization donating hasn't really gotten back to us as far as being able to do this, to get it done for the January 1st implementation. I wonder if we could even have this in time for small business, well, no, not for small business.
So that was the,
but for
the idea is to have it in December. So before their shopping season. So there will be, and they'll be working with Dave Fairman in terms of like distributing them to the businesses so that whether it's retail or, or even restaurant, that they have, like a rollout plan.
Okay. So this would be that the businesses would pass them out, not direct to the consumers?
Correct.
That is correct. We had talked about the possibility of delivering them to borough residents, but that just seemed to be impossible.
Well, it was Sure, and the other concept was that the plastic bag ordinance directly affected the businesses. And so this was the idea to support them and get the word out and to kind of hit two birds with one stone.
Okay. I know this isn't the point, but I don't know that having the businesses distribute the bags in December would make sense, because they've got 100 other things to do. To have another supply item in their very, very probably busted to the seams back rooms, it might actually end up being harmful. So I wouldn't kill myself to try to get anything into the business's hands in December if you're trying to make a January 1st date.
Brittany, is this the kind of thing that we could have available in the borough, that residents could come pick up? That way we can make sure that they will use it at businesses and it will go to residents.
I'm sure that we certainly can have a stack of it, certainly can have a stack of it at the Borough Hall. I think the other thing is that there's a whole, there are also flyers and the little cards about the plastic bag ordinance that have been created in terms of messaging, and along with Linda Rooney in terms of, something that can be handed out to people at the businesses. And so I think the idea was like you could have all that.
No,
but whatever
sounds
works,
great. I just
we're
want
just
to be
going to
really
work
sensitive
with
that,
Dave
like,
Fairman to figure out whatever works for the businesses.
When I used to work in retail, if something wasn't implemented by November 1st, it wasn't implemented again until January 15th. There was just a blackout period to do anything different. So I just want to kind of, if this is something you all want to do, to level set expectations that maybe the spend actually doesn't happen until 2023.
The point is that we want them in place for the implementation of the ban in January. And the problem was that we didn't think that was going to be the case.
Yeah, and I appreciate the research and making sure it's the most environmentally friendly. We know not all reusable bags are environmentally friendly, and sometimes they're almost as bad as a plastic bag. So appreciate that research.
Thank you.
Mark, I have a question for you. So we have 3, what I consider to be very worthy projects. 2 of them we have a fair degree of control over. One, not so much, the library garden. Do we know that the library will move forward with that project?
The library has several pieces of that project. This amount would certainly cover at least one of them and allow them to begin working on a second. So that the understanding I have from the library, from Sandra, the director of the library, is that they are very much looking forward to beginning this project.
So that certainly is very promising. But I think that we should have some type of understanding of what would happen if that $13,355 that would be allotted for the library project, for whatever reason, isn't able to go forward.
Is there something I can add to this motion, or is it something that we can identify when we share this with them?
Well, you
or I can bring it, I'm the liaison, so I
you
can
could
share it with them.
condition the grant, I assume it's a grant to the library, or maybe we're paying expenses, I'm not really sure, but upon a scope for the project approved by the borough, right?
Okay.
I think that would work.
Sure.
Okay. So, Mark, I assume that you are willing to amend your motion to reflect that?
Absolutely, I'm doing it right now.
And the seconder as well? I think the second came from you, Peter.
Yes, I'm willing to do so since I made the change. And if I may say, Erica and Mark, both of you spoke very eloquently tonight, so I don't want to take anything away from what both of you said. We have to judge, and throw balls in the air and make balancing statement, and we have to balance things. And so I think Mark's done a very good job of doing that, so I thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
I think I just have one quick comment. I'm very sorry to prolong this. This doesn't affect your motion in any way. I just want to remind people that media has a walk score of 94 out of 100. And, well, our bike score is 45 out of 100, but we've got to work on that. I just want to remind people that, we think about our environment. We have to keep thinking about how safe we want our streets to be able to walk safely in media in order to, keep our air clean. And we also need to remember that we have multiple modes of public transit too. So we want to make sure we can support those modes of transportation, as well as electric vehicles as well. So that's all I wanted
When
to
you
say.
say walk score of 94, can you explain what that means?
Can I explain what that means? Walkscore.com.
Now, is that out of 100? I mean, is that good?
Yes, that's
Okay,
really good.
awesome.
That means like you can get to anything, almost anything, without needing a car.
Fabulous.
So that's what the walk score means for Media Borough. And that's one of the reasons why I moved here. I'm like, I don't need a car to move here? Okay,
Yep.
right here. And I saved myself about $10,000 a year from not having a car back then. So that's all I wanted to say. Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions?
Just one more comment. I will let the library know that the project, this amount must go to bid. I clarified that with Bob Scott before I came up with the motion.
All right, thank you. Let me take a stab at this motion. All those who favor authorizing the spending of the $36,710 Sunoco check on the following items, please say aye. The items are $10,000 to help implement our new bag ordinance, $13,355 to help fund the library garden project, but that will be upon submission, be conditioned on submission of a scope of work to the satisfaction of the borough. And three, $13,355 towards the purchase of an electronic vehicle for our public works.
I think it's an electric vehicle.
What did I say?
It's
Electronic.
Electric vehicle. Okay, I apologize. So I'll call the motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes unanimously. Councilmember Pagoff, anything else that you have for us this evening?
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does any member of council have any question or comment for Councilmember Pagoff at this time? Hearing none, as promised, we have a second opportunity for public comment and privilege of the floor. First, I will turn to Karen Rapino. Karen, have we received any comments or questions by way of email since the beginning of tonight's meeting?
I have nothing.
Thank you. If there's anybody who's present who wishes to address council at this time, please come to the microphone. Tell us your name, where you live, and what's on your mind.
Robin Lazarson, 342 West 4th Street. I would just like, as a citizen and as a member of the EAC, to voice my disappointment in the decision around the allocation of the Sunoco funds. I would reiterate my previous contention that accepting the funds to begin with was an unethical choice. It was paid as hush money to look the other way over the criminal trespass on the borough's property. And I think this vote was the opportunity to redeem that action, and that it's a missed opportunity to take leadership on an issue that affects each and every resident of the borough. I disagree with the characterization that the proposal to allocate the funds, any portion of the funds, to the Clean Air Council has no bearing on the local community. Reusable bags and the rain garden are lovely ecological projects. They're very important. Purchasing electric truck for the borough is very important. I happen to know it's already in the budget for 2023. But those projects don't address the issue at hand. And if you had allocated the money to the Clean Air Council, it would have been an avenue to address not only the safety of the existing pipeline that was built illegally through part of borough property, but to take some leadership and proactively address a planned massive escalation of the industrial pollution and fossil fuel industry infrastructure along the Delaware River, the crown jewel of which will be this liquefied natural gas plant. That will have massive environmental implications for the entire region. In fact, all of us will be in a much wider blast zone if the construction of those things goes forward. And I assure you that, and this was something that I learned in the process of this whole consideration, the Mariner East 2 pipeline is the tip of the iceberg. There are 4 or 5 other pipelines in the pipeline that are likely to be run through that very same corridor, this council is likely to be facing maybe a very similar situation to what we've faced over the last 6 years with this controversy. And the question is, will any entity, municipal or otherwise, be able to stand up to fossil fuel bullies who are destroying the environment and warming our climate? And I think the choice you made today was parochial, and it did not rise to the level of courage that is required by all of us human beings to address the threat that is at hand. So I just needed to register my feelings about that. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion. Does anybody else wish to address council at this time? Please come forward. Yes, Ms.
Hi,
Berman.
Erica again. I don't have to get my address again, do I?
We have it already, do we
Okay,
not,
yeah.
Karen? I think that we're good.
Well, I want to respond about the plastic reusable bag idea, but I just wanted to address Councilperson Mark's comments. It wasn't as if we were ignoring words that you were relaying to us, and I don't want you to think that the EAC is ignoring guidance from council. I think it was important for council tonight to understand how we as environmentalists were unpacking the whole issue, and it's a very packed issue. So thank you. And regarding the reusable bags, I can understand how that would be burdensome for businesses. I'm really excited about the idea. I know we're going to talk next week. So, I was thinking it would be maybe setting up a stand on State Street and having like ambassadors or something, like zero waste ambassadors, like handing out the bags and talking about it. At least that won't put all the burden on the businesses, because I'm sure they're very busy this time of year. So thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate your input. Does anybody else wish to address council at this time? Please come forward and tell us what's on your mind. Doesn't appear as if we have anyone else who... I'm sorry? Oh, okay. The mayor was just putting a period at the end of that sentence. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So made. So moved.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good night, folks, and have a good Thanksgiving.